co-host, Small Town EP. We got friend of the show, best friend of the show, Big Kev. Big Kev shot it. You already know he on the cameras and all that. It's been a very eventful September. Football has started. We're in the middle of college football season. Basketball season is in the air. You can smell it. Baseball season's coming to its end, and we got some playoff races in that regard. So, with that being said, before we get into our show, and before Kevin and I, as fellow Heat fans, kind of sulking in the sadness and the hurt, I want to introduce y'all to my guys right here. We got Small Town EP, and I know he told me to introduce him second, but you know what? Fuck what he told me. It's my boy. He's out in Paris right now, Fashion Week vibing. How's it going? Zone one shit.
Yeah, man, we're live. A week ago when you saw me last, I know we missed the pod on Monday, but a week ago when you saw me last, I was in Florence, I was in Italy. A week later, I'm in Paris Fashion Week. Went to a little Dior gallery earlier. We're vibing. I made it through, I'm on the last couple of days of the trip right now, about to head back to the States. I made it through, missed connections, no trees, couple racist encounters. Made it through a lot of shit, but I'm here, baby. We still standing, you heard?
Hey, I will say this. I'm a little frustrated that your camera and Wi-Fi connection decided to act up as soon as we got live because you were talking
That's
to us for
crazy.
15 minutes and I didn't hear any problems. But it's nice to know you're out enjoying yourself with your, what I'm saying, with your main thing out in Paris. You did Italy. Now you're in France. Kev, what's going on, boss? How you doing? It's good time. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. We're doing this now when it's light out for us. This is different for me, feeling this the sunlight out. But I'm good, you know. I'm as good as I can be in this moment.
There we go. And that's all that matters. And as far as us recording at this time right now, 4:26 p.m., I think the earliest I've recorded the All Things Sports podcast is probably around like 6:30, maybe 5:45, 6. Those were back in the, James and Julian days, but it does feel weird. It does feel good too because we kind of have the night. We get to watch the football game with no interruptions and all those things. Nonetheless, it's good to see both of you guys here with me. I don't know if EP is having any connection issues because it is kind of bugging up right now, but we'll work through them nonetheless. We got Thursday night football tonight, man. It's a divisional game. This is going to be the first time the Jordan Love era sees Detroit, right? The last time these two teams faced off in the Packers and Lions, there was a playoff berth on the line for the Packers. The Lions were playing spoiler, and the Lions did exactly that. It was the last game Aaron Rodgers played healthy, full through, I must say. It was also the last game Aaron Rodgers played for the Packers and in Lambeau. So it was just a big moment in time last year when him and Randall Cobb walked off that field for the last time as Packers members, and bittersweet moments. It's a new era. It's a new day. We got a new quarterback, and he's playing pretty fucking good, if you ask me. So shout out to Jordan Love, but the Lions, on the other hand, have an exciting team. They're dealing with some shit with Chauncey Gardner Johnson going down with the pec tear. Sucks to suck, but both of these teams have come into week 4 exciting, right? And you have to look at them like respectable teams. This isn't a team you're going to just walk over and beat. So shout out to Detroit and the Packers. We'll get into that a little bit later. Dame Dame Lillard is now a Milwaukee Buck. He is no longer a Portland Trailblazer. He is not a member of the Miami Heat. Give it up
Oh
for day
man.
90. Finally, we don't have to like those tweets anymore or anything like that. Kev and I will share our thoughts on Dame Lillard. We're also going to touch on Ronald Acuna Jr. and the National League MVP and what he means for baseball, because baseball is a growing sport and it's changing as well. And I think this year showed that baseball can still be exciting. Baseball is still something that the youth can fall in love with and grow to appreciate for, their future. So we'll talk about what that means for the sport and everything like that. And then get into, obviously, our 4 to 5 you know, good games of the week. There isn't a huge. It's not a very appealing week in football this week as far as who's playing who. But we do have two 0-4 matchups that I'm excited to talk about because there's some implications there. Um, all that being said, man, I want to thank you guys for being here, listening to us. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on YouTube Live, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, whatever the case may be, we appreciate you. But yeah, let's jump into the show, man. We're gonna start with the bad news, and then we'll get into the good news. Bad news is Damian Lillard gets traded. I should have played it like this. Good news is Dame got traded. Bad news is wasn't to the Heat. But with that being said, Kev, kind of just run me down on your thoughts on how this whole process has gone. You've come up here and spoken about it a few times. I've obviously expressed myself and how I feel about the whole thing, and I was uber confident that Dame Lillard would get traded to Miami. It took 3 months, and unfortunately, there wasn't a deal done for the Heat. And now one of our biggest rivals in Milwaukee Bucks, as far as like serious rivals, and that we actually play good basketball against, and they play good basketball against us. They've got a championship caliber guy in Dame Lillard. What are your thoughts, Kev?
Obviously disappointed when you see the news, especially the fact that this was expected to go the Heat's way for 88 days, I think it was. Once the request was made and the report was out that he's requested a trade just to Miami, solely wants to be moved to Miami. But I think I don't know how long ago it was. I think like halfway through this, so probably like around day 50 or something. I think I was on here and I said it's starting to feel like it's not going the Heat's way. Like everything, once a team, in my opinion, once Cronin stopped calling or answering calls, that was it. He made up his mind at that point. It seemed that he wanted to move the best. He wanted the best deal that didn't involve Miami at that point, right? And from reports that 10 days ago, his agent called Milwaukee and Brooklyn and said, "Look, if you can put a deal together for Dame, he'd be willing to go to you." Because at this point, 70 days in, we're a week, not even a week away from training camp. We're less than a week away from training camp. There had to be some sort of resolution. And then there's also the reports that came out that Dame told Portland he'd be okay coming back. And I'm assuming, hoping at the trade deadline be moved to Miami, but Portland didn't seem very receptive to that idea either. I think I think, and I'm speaking as a Heat fan, obviously, but I think they took a worse deal than what they could have gotten. You get one first-round pick and 2 swaps. One of those swaps could be non-existent because Milwaukee's pick is owed to Chicago in one of those years. So, I mean, it's like it was a very spiteful deal. Like you still took back pennies on the dollar for Damian Lillard, in my opinion. And I get the DeAndre Ayton thing, but I think there was also, if you really wanted DeAndre Ayton, I believe there's an avenue where you can still get him in a deal with the Heat. So, so it's for me, it just seemed like Joe Cronin didn't want to deal with Miami, and it's unfortunate that your star franchise player of the last 10 years, who's been there and been loyal to your organization, that you wouldn't even give Miami a chance in the end. Let's say you like this deal from Milwaukee, that you don't even pick up the phone and call Miami and say, "Hey, this is the deal we have on the table. What are you willing to do?" I think at most you owed that to Damian Lillard in saying, "Hey, this is where he wants to go. He's requested this. We have this offer on the table that we will accept. What can you do to sweeten your offer," or whatever the case might be. But I think at the very least, I think that was owed to Lillard. And I think we see, based on his agent's comments and based on his cousin who went on Twitter after the news shortly leaked, I think we see that Portland was just not trying to deal with Miami for whatever reason. So that to me is the most disappointing part. It's that Miami put the effort in, and now all the Pat Riley is washed and this and that. Pat Riley's been here for 28 years now, and we've been competitive. Miami always gets somebody. We're never out of the race for somebody. We're starting with Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, and then bringing in Shaq, in the trade, and then bringing in Braun and Bosh. and then you bring in Jimmy. Like it happens. So it's a cycle. There's plenty of guys the Heat missed out on too along those ways, but you'll remember who they got, and you remember what those guys did for the organization when they got here. So Pat always gets his guy at the end of the day. Even going back as far as Juwan Howard, when he tried to sign Juwan in the 90s and then got called for tampering. And then he was like 2010, 2011. He was like, Juwan, come over on a vet minimum. We're doing this deal. So Pat's always going to get his guy. And at the end of the day, that's who my trust is in this organization, is in Pat Riley. And he has a track record to prove it. So I'm not worried. I'm disappointed because the prospect of having Dame here was, championship aspirations, but I still think those are the aspirations for the organization. And I think that's the aspiration for the organization every year after year. I don't think that changes. And I think if there's a deal to be made out there, Pat is going to make the deal if it improves the team. And if not, then I think Pat likes what he's got. So.
Yeah, and you make a good point. You make a few good points. The only thing I wanted to say about the trade value, I do think they could have gotten a better offer than they did. And they still could have gotten guys that they wanted, like a DeAndre Ayton, through a trade from Miami. But, they're not going to keep Drew Holiday. They can flip him, possibly get multiple picks in the draft. Thank you, Raven, by the way. She has brought me my hookah, so I have to show appreciation. We are shooting today, by the way, in the beautiful 1996 Blue Taraj studio. So shout out to Raven and Sydney for being great to me ever since I've gotten to New York. That's neither here nor there. But going back to Damian Lillard, I mean, I don't want to piggyback off Kev because everything he said, like I wholeheartedly agree with. Now, to the point that you started to go on with Pat Riley, I wanted to piggyback off of that because, of course, there's going to be discourse on Twitter and social media in general. And it leaks. The Twitter and Instagram discourse leaks into the group chats and it leaks into the messages. And, it gets annoying because there are a lot of people in this world that see something and react off of it, and then they also see something, see how people react, and then basically share their same reactions based on how others are reacting. And so, like, to sit here and just say like, oh, our front office sucks, Pat Riley's washed, very easy way out, very, like, whatever, bro. I'm not going to take that stance. I do think that we need to look at Pat Riley and say, come on, bro, I think you needed to get this done. This was in your hands. It was in your lap from an outsider perspective. But when you really look at it, you see reports, and reports are always going to come out. You notice, I'm going to always tell you, let's let it develop because I don't know, right? I'm never going to act like sources told me, right? I don't know. And even when a story comes out, there's still going to be a backstory to that story on how that story became. So when Dame Lillard gets traded to the Bucks, my first thoughts are like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't think Pat Riley's washed. I didn't think front office can't get it done. I didn't think anything like that. I didn't think I saw fire Pat Riley tweets. Like, so I didn't think anything like that, but I did think, man, what the fuck's going on, bro? Because, I mean, Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, now Dame Lillard, you have to be a hurt fan at some points and be like, dude, what the hell? But when you take a step back and look, that the Heat did offer a fair offer for this trade. They did try to give up what they had to give up to get a Damian Lillard. And it might not have been the most appealing deal to anybody else, but if you're talking about value or what Portland got back, I mean, equal to or more than, you know what I'm saying? For what the Heat could have offered and what the Heat did offer. So definitely a lot of spite from Joe Cronin. I was going to come up here and go full-fledged off the rails and let them know how I really feel.
Like you did in the group
chat. I don't want any type of video evidence of that. I don't want people to record me, and I'm not nobody that people even record or play back, but I don't want to have that. I put out some tweets yesterday. I had to pull some of them back because I was hurt. And very frustrated. And, I did say Joe Cronin can go to hell. I don't mean it from my heart, but as a sports fan, fuck Joe Cronin. Joe Cronin can go to hell. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like basketball hell, like next to Chandler Parsons, you've got a spot.
Yo, fam.
So that's kind of my sentiment on it. I mean, obviously you don't hit every time. And yeah, ESPN, when it put out a post on Instagram with jersey swap edits of Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, and Damian Lillard, like, this is how much attention you can gain based on talking about the Heat in a negative way, though, because you don't see them talking about the Heat in a positive way when the Heat are actually beating the number 1 seed in the East in the playoffs, are actually beating this team on the road in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see that much hype around the Heat or talk around, but now when we see Pat Riley struck out, didn't land Lillard, oh, he's washed. What's going to happen? Listen, Pat Riley has gotten us where we are right now, and I am fully appreciative for everything he's done for this organization, the ups, the downs, signing James Johnson, Deion Waiters, and Kelly Olynyk in 2016 from a 11-30 team to a 30-11 team. And Kev, you and I both know that we get pissed, we question them, and then in the playoffs and in April, we're sitting here like, holy shit, I didn't think this team had it in them. What's going on? If everybody could just chill out. Look, Damian Lillard was the goal. Damian Lillard was the expectation. And that's fair because he wanted to come here. He said it himself, I don't want to play anywhere but Miami. At the end of the day, that's not our control. And guess what? It was never promised to us that it was going to happen. And Pat Riley always had the stance that, you know what? This roster is good enough to compete. Whether we are or not, whether he's, playing posse or not, possum or not, that's not the case. We believe in ourselves, and we're not going to say if we don't get Dame Lillard, we're fucked. Because guess what? We don't have a point guard right now. We need to figure that out, and that's something we'll talk about in other pods and shit like that. And I'm sure we will figure out. But right now, as it stands, this Miami Heat roster is constructed to compete. It might not be a 4 seed, it might not be a top 3 seed, but guess what? We are going to come out and play hard every single night, and we are going to get a playoff spot, and we'll go from there. It's about what you can do, not about what you can't do. So, with all that being said,
can we give it up for the biggest winner in this whole ordeal and debacle? You ready for this? Tyler fucking Hero has a job in Miami still. He will be staying. The biggest winner, in my opinion, is Tyler Hero. You can't pay child support across state lines. Not gonna lie to you. So shout out to that boy Tyler Hero.
Shout out to Tyler Hero, and I guess that leaves us with the big question: where does Jrue Holiday land? Right? I mean, this is a guy that can shake up the league. We saw him go to Milwaukee and make a huge impact on a team that needed him. And so teams like Boston, teams like Miami, are the Knicks going to be, throwing themselves out there if they can get maybe Evan Fournier off the books and like a Deuce McBride and a couple first-round picks? Like, shout out to Ev. I got that off Ev's tweet. But this is the question now because, of course, Milwaukee can be the favorite. They got Lillard. And by the way, I'm happy for Damian Lillard. He's in a situation where he can be successful. He's in a situation where he's going to compete. And that's what I've wanted to see Dame Lillard do since he's gotten in the league, because with Portland, he's tried. They didn't do enough. I wanted him to come to Miami. I felt like he'd have a chance for a championship here. He's in Milwaukee. He's playing with, if not the best player on the fucking court, the second best player on the court. Said Jrue Holiday is in a situation right now. Where do we expect? I'm going to start with you.
Who were you? You started with me? Or you started with E? My bad. It went out for a second.
No, I said Kev. I'm starting with you. My bad.
Okay. All right. Where do I think Jrue Holiday ends up? I mean, it comes down to, I guess, at this point, does Cronin want to deal with Miami? If he does want to deal with Miami, I think Miami can get something done. I don't want Miami to give them the same package that they were offering for Dame, obviously, or even close to it. Like I don't see a need to send Tyler Hero to Portland for 1 year of Jrue Holiday. But then it comes, how do you make that? Like what gets it done at that point? To where they're not just like, well, then we'll just keep Jrue.
Yeah.
So I don't see a path for Miami just because of that. Like I I don't think we're offering 23-year-old Tyler Hero, who's locked in for the next 4 years at a reasonable rate when you're going to look at the league in 3-4 years. I don't think that's worth trading for 1 year of Drew Holiday, who might retire when his contract is up. So, I mean, the next team that makes the most sense, because they always seem to make that type of move, is Boston. So, and then Heat fans will go crazy if that does happen, because then it's Milwaukee and Boston just got better and we're the Heat. So that'll be fun when it happens. I'm sure Heat Twitter will explode, and it'll be a civil war between the Bam Adebayo fans and the Tyler Hero fans. And it'll be magical for Heat Nation. But I don't. And maybe I'm doing this as like a reverse jinx, because every time we say we're getting somebody, they haven't gotten here. So maybe this is me just being like, we're not getting Drew, and then we get Drew, and it's like a nice little surprise. But I don't want Drew for Tyler Hero. I know that for sure. Like, if we get Drew, I want Drew to play the point, and I want Hero to be at the 2.
Right.
And then I want, obviously, Jimmy and Bam there.
Be.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
can't see.
gonna get you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my bigger question. I know you said that Drew shake. He not even said, but he's proven that he can shake up the league. He can shake, not the league, but he can do some work, and he can make a difference on whatever team that he's on.
He can make a championship impact.
Yeah, but at this point, I mean, if it's not Portland, where does he fit in? I know that you have, and you referenced New York, but it's like I don't see that working. So for me, I would say he stays in Portland. As much as they don't want him, and they've already publicly said that, hey, we don't want to keep this asset that we've received. I don't think that there's anywhere else that he would fit in immediately right now.
Well, so I do have to challenge that. I think he fits perfectly with Miami. And I do think Boston can really use him. Like, Boston lost Marcus Smart. And if they go into the season with the roster currently as constructed, Boston's going to look at a 5 seed, 6 seed type of season. Go.
And I want Celtics fan to keep taking this victory lap. I want them to keep taking this little victory lap that they got going on. Get it off now. Get your shit off now, please. Because when the ball is on the court, we'll see. We'll see how that team looks.
When KP is not on the court, we will see.
And when you're paying Jaylen Brown $70 million, we're going to see.
So, me personally, of course, I would love Drew Holiday. I have to also stop this and say, shout out to my boy Ray Cam Bam. Shout out to my boy John Days in the chat showing love. Ray Cam talking about early vibes. He's already recognizing it, knowing that we typically record, way past 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast. It's only 4:30, 4:45. He said, Harden campaign, prende la hookah. He's hype. I got the hookah with me. And then my boy John Day. Shout out to the Yankees. Let's go Yanks. Shout out to Sean. Gang. Hookah got it. Yes, sir. We here. Chat. Appreciate y'all listening, man. Tapping in with us. Fuck with y'all the long way. Going back to Drew Holiday, though. Miami makes the most sense. And I think Joe Cronin would be willing to make a deal with the Heat, not because he didn't make one for Portland, but because the deal that Miami was going to offer was actually appealing for Lillard. It was, and he didn't want to face that. So knowing that he can get some of that, something, he can get picks, he can get maybe a young guy in there, maybe a Jaquez. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that we necessarily want to do that. But Drew Holiday is a guy that can, as you say, Kev, make a championship impact. And the East got stronger yesterday. So we have to do something to go into the season to get stronger.
My trade package is Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, and then whatever you want to do with picks. But cool. You're not getting any of the young guys.
Cool. Would you throw Duncan Robinson in that trade?
Yeah, let him go.
If MVP Duncan Robinson.
If you have if that's what has to be done to get it done, I think you take Drew in that situation. But I would say try to hold on to what you can, obviously, which is what they tried to do with Dame. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think. Why would your first offer? Why would you just throw everything on the table?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm not understanding. They hadn't talked since Summer League when they first had discussions. So who was expecting Pat Riley to be like, here's everything I got, push all my chips to the middle of the table, first discussion. But if I do that, you have all the leverage now. I got nothing. I got nothing left on my end. So like, I don't understand. People don't understand negotiations, and like, but you can also only negotiate with two people. You can't. I'm not going to negotiate against myself. And if this guy's not calling me, there's only so much I could do at that point. Like if I told you my first offer and you can't even come back to me and say, no, I need this, or I want that, or this can get it done, or this is what we're looking for, then there's not much for me to do other than let you sit on my offer and hope you come back to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll say this, Joe Cronin, the hell with you. But we move, man. The Miami Heat, I know this, bro. We could be as mad as we are. And by late May, early April, by late March, I should say, I'm sorry, early April, we're still competing. And of course, whoever wants to play this back and say, oh, you didn't think that last year, like, of course, we didn't play good last year in the regular season. We had a struggle, but we figured it out. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about anything anybody says, but what actually happens leading into late April and early May. And are you still standing? So I'll close this out by saying, hopefully we can land Drew Holiday. If we don't, I hope we can trade for maybe a James Harden. I would love to have James Harden on this team at the right price. He doesn't want to be in Philadelphia. I think he still has some good basketball left in him. He's a great point guard in this league who facilitates and makes great tough shots. So we'll figure something out. I know that the Miami Heat are going to be okay, and we're going to be able to compete still.
And just quickly on the James Harden point, I know a lot of Heat fans are like against that because they think James Harden and the stigma around James Harden. But Heat fans can't have it both ways, where it's like, okay, every time we get a Dion Waiters or a Hassan Whiteside, we see what happens with when they're with this staff and with this organization. And that's one thing. Heat fans love talking about the culture. So why do you think a talent like James Harden can't come to Miami other than like maybe he's going to be in booby trap every night? But that's the only thing that I think could stop him. But even that, I think that he will have that under control. Like I think this is a championship organization. And I think that if you bring a guy like James Harden with his talent and skill level, like that's not, especially on a 1-year deal. Like that's, if you're sending out Lowry and Caleb for that, who are both going to be free agents next year too, I mean, I'm taking the risk with Harden for 1 year and seeing where that goes. Especially at this point, you need to, like Julian said, you need to make a move. So,
yeah. Well said, bro. Well said. I think everybody that comes to the Heat, you're either gonna excel or flop. And I don't think James Harden is the type of guy who's gonna just come in here knowing what the situation would be. Because everybody knows when you go to Miami, you're here to work hard. You're here to, you know what I'm saying, put in pain and stay in shape. You don't come to Miami willingly and not accept that. Kyle Lowry accepted that. I think James Harden will be fine. So if we can, we'll move along. Dame Lillard, a Milwaukee Buck, no longer have to kind of stress that, no longer have to wait on the Woj notification on what's going on. It's a sad day in Heat history because Dame Lillard is a Heat lifer. I mean, the guy, if he wants, he's on the Bucks, but his heart is in Miami, and we saw everything we needed to see. So, I mean, if you want to take your girlfriend back after, you know what I'm saying, you seen her with a real one over here having the best time of her life, do what you got to do. Call her your girl. But you know the vibes.
And if you want to see the realization in real time of somebody who thought they'd be in Miami all year and now they have to go to Milwaukee, go look at Dame's cousin's Twitter because he was not happy with finding out that he's not coming to Miami.
I also want to point out the fact that Jimmy Butler came out with that video and said, hey, NBA, you need to investigate the Milwaukee Bucks for tampering. He was dead ass serious. He wasn't joking because Jimmy Butler's a troll, and we know he loves to joke around and say all this funny shit. He wasn't joking. Tyler Hero then retweeted that tweet, and Tyler Hero has been in the center of these trade talks all summer. Each season, we're trying to get a superstar. So for Tyler Hero to come out and be like, yo, for real, I don't know what that means, but I think it means something. I'm not the guy to ask. I'm not the guy to make judgment on it. But like I said, I think there's something there. We'll move on. The MLB, like I said, is in, you know what I'm saying, full force. They are going to the playoff next week or so, maybe 2 weeks.
This weekend. Weeks, I think this weekend's the last 4 games left, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Ronald Acuna has had an amazing season. EP, can you tell the listeners, the amazing listeners that we have every week, who I picked for the NL MVP this year.
It was definitely Ronald Acuna.
Okay, I was wrong on
1000%.
Daniel Jones last year, and I accepted it. And honestly, I was gladly wrong. I'd love to see Daniel Jones have an amazing career in New York for the Giants, but I was wrong. I wasn't wrong about Ronald Acuna, and I'm gonna stand on that because I did say he's gonna come back off of injury. He's gonna come back and have an amazing year. He's gonna be him. He's not, this. No. 40 home runs and 70 casual understands what that means. So EP is not with us. Kev, if you may, can you explain to the casual? And casual sounds negative. I don't want to give that. I don't want to do that. Can you explain to the person who doesn't necessarily watch baseball all the time what it means to hit 40 home runs in a season and steal 70 plus bases and counting?
Yeah. I mean, either one of those feats on its own is impressive as it is. Just for context, he's only the 5th player in the history of the league. So in over 100 years of professional baseball, he's the 5th player ever to hit for 40 home runs and steal 40 bases in one season. And he is now the 1st player ever to hit for 40 home runs and steal 70 bases. So he created his own club, the 40-70 club. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, impressive season. He's been incredible all year, and he's the main reason why the Braves are in the position that they're in. So, yeah, very impressive season for Ronald Acuna.
I almost used the hookah tip as a mic. I'm not gonna lie. The Braves losing Freddie Freeman, I thought this was going to be a big thing. And I thought that, them winning the championship, obviously not being able to re-sign Freddie and him going to LA was just going to, the Braves, I knew that their roster as currently constructed and the contracts they have is great. They're in a great position for where you want to be in baseball. But I thought Freddie Freeman being the MVP last year was going to just, wreck shit in LA and make it tough, obviously, for the Braves. That's not the case, man. The Braves came in this year and have been playing amazing baseball since day one, and they have great pitchers. They got great hitting, and it's young talent. This isn't like, a bunch of vets that came together. This is a lot of young talent that they've had for years. And it's just looking great. So I have the Braves going to the NL championship and winning it, going to the World Series and representing the National League. With Ronald Acuna doing this, I mean, 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases. It just, the only thing I can think is who's going to beat the Braves with a guy like this on their team? And are there teams out there that can? Of course. But in a 7-game series with the pitching staff that they have, it's going to be tough with a healthy Ronald Acuna, as hot as he is going into the playoffs. What was the smirk, Kev?
Because, and this is going to be crazy, when you guys are going to laugh when I say this, but they did just get swept at home by the Marlins, who I believe is who they would play in the
Okay. Let's context. Miami is clawing for the playoffs right now.
Correct.
Clawing for the playoffs.
Correct.
Now,
and I like that. I like them in that situation better than a team that's wrapped it up 2 weeks ago. I'll say that, because you hit cruise control
to get there. But we know that when the season finishes and the playoffs start, the Braves are locked in. Like Spencer Strider, let's see who's hitting off Spencer Strider in the playoffs is what I'm interested to see. And as much as I do respect the Marlins, and as much as I do think the Marlins can win, if they got to play their Braves, their division rival in the first round, that's not the best. That's not the best case scenario for the Marlins.
I mean, it's not ideal, but when you're
we sat up here maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and said Sixto Sanchez, we said Yuri Perez, we said if Sandy Alcantara can get it together. We haven't seen since then the dominance in the pitching staff of the Marlins. Luis Arias hasn't been the hitter he was You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Back when we spoke about that.
Arise is probably done for the season with the ankle. He looks like Jimmy Butler when the way he was walking around. Then you got
Jimmy played in one. I'm just kidding.
Sandy has been hurt. Yuri, I don't know what they have going on with Yuri. Like his 5 innings, I hate it so much because you can never get in a rhythm as a pitcher if you're going out there for 5 innings a night, every 5 days or 6 days even sometimes with Yuri. But they're still winning baseball games, and that's the crazy part. And so, I mean, to me, Skip Schumacher is like no question. He's the manager of the year in the National League because this team was not supposed to be in the position that they're in, especially if they make the playoffs. But I always think the most dangerous team in the playoffs is the team. Look at the Heat this year. They had to fight and they had to claw the last 2 weeks of the season. They were already every game was a playoff game for them the last 2 weeks of the season, and that's where the Marlins are. So you get into that mode where you're like, this is do or die. Every night is do or die for the last 2 weeks for the Marlins, and the Cubs are like, here, we don't want the playoffs. Take it, please, take it from us. I don't know if you guys saw the Braves game. They lost. The Braves came back the last 2 nights, but the other night on the fly ball,
Dropped a pop up. That's
yeah.
crazy.
So I mean, the Cubs are literally handing it to them like Steve Bartman, and yeah, it's crazy. Like it just feels like fate. Like, and that's the thing with the Marlins too is every time they've competed and won, nobody expected it from them. And so this is that year with a new manager. It feels like if they get into the playoffs, they could make some noise just because they've been in this situation for the last couple of weeks where they've had to go up against Cincinnati, Chicago, Arizona. There's like 5 teams fighting for that last spot in the wild card. So I'm not saying they would beat Atlanta. I think Atlanta's obviously the best team in baseball, like bar none. It's like not even a question at this point. However, if I was Atlanta, I don't want to play Miami. That's like
right. I mean, that's the thing. The team you don't want to play is the Marlins because of the hunger, because of the fact that they've had to play so well and get to this point. But at the same time, we saw it with Miami where they got to that point where they were just tired. And granted, that was in the finals, but the baseball season is long, man, and honestly, the best is going to win. The best is going to win. I wouldn't put, Marlins can't beat the Braves. I'm not going to say that. The Marlins have shown that they are a team built off resilience, built off, teamwork and preparation. So, but when you look at it, you just have to assume this Braves team is the team to beat in the National League, in the league, really.
Yeah.
But you don't see the Braves losing a first round matchup. Now, EP, yo, I say this
every time
motherfucker's
he
name,
goes,
bro, he just goes away. I'm trying to get him involved. I'll keep him on the limb. So if we could just switch topics, man. I don't want to talk about baseball no more. We'll get in
but
the playoffs.
real quick, while we're on baseball, I just want to acknowledge the fact that while he's missed as many games as he's missed, Aaron Judge still has 37 home runs and counting this year. So shout out to Aaron
He's
Judge
like what,
because
fourth or third in the AL?
something like that, which is
He's like
crazy
third in
because
the AL.
he's missed so much time and he's still I believe his like projected home runs, if he would have played as many games as he played last year, he would be right up close to 60 again. So he's different.
Now, I wanted to talk about EP. I'm going to go up in our text message history right here. Give me 1 second. Because the other night, we were supposed to record on Monday. He was having some complications. Obviously, he's OT right now. The man is in Italy. The man is in France. So we've been trying to keep it rolling. It's been a little troublesome, but I don't have any regrets because my boy is enjoying his best life. But I'm going to quote a text message that I got from EP on I want to say this is Monday or Tuesday night. He said, I thought I had that shit right here, but give me a second. He said, you know what? I'm gonna just paraphrase because I don't got it up right here. But he was saying, I've got so much shit to say, and I want to talk about the Yankees because they haven't done anything but lose me money and break my heart this season. Fire Boone. That's the sentiment we're getting from our in-house All Things Sports podcast co-host, Yankee Fan. And just to all the Yankee fans out there, I want to say this, man. It's okay. You know, not everybody is going to win every year. Not everybody is going to, compete every year. And in y'all case, you never will. So just get over it. Understand that. Oh, I forgot Kev is an honorary Yankee fan as well. Um,
And it's
I
coming
really
from
don't have
the
much to
guy
say on the
who's
Yankees because who the
it's
fuck
coming
cares?
from the
But
it's coming from the guy whose
I was
team
just
is in
being
last
funny.
place. He realized his team is in last place, right?
Oh, look who it is! I don't know if YouTube got EP back right now. But when EP does come back, I want him to share his thoughts. No matter if we're on the NFL or MLB still, I want him to share his thoughts in the Yankees because he did have a lot to say in my inbox. For the time being, I do want to switch over to the NFL. EP, are you with us? Can I get a hello? How you doing? EP is not with us. EP is not with us.
He's with
Okay,
us. He's with
so
that sounds like
he
he's gone off to another dimension. He's with us. He's just not with you all. He's with
there we
us.
go. Can't see him. We see him. Y'all don't see him.
Yeah.
We got a good matchup today. I talked about it, Kev. It's a division matchup. I didn't know which way this was gonna go. I put a hefty bet down. I put a hefty bet down today. Minus 1.5. We're gonna, what I'm saying, talk good spirits into that Lions minus 1.5. Ray, if you're still watching, shout out to you. It's nothing against you. It's nothing against your Packers. I'm just trying to get my money up, not my funny up. I saw a good bet. I had to take it. I'm not even a gambling man. Don't do that to me. Now, before we get into all the games on Sunday or the big games on Sunday, and the power rankings, we're going to go into a power ranking. So, Kev, I'm putting you on the spot. EP and I hope EP has his power rankings. I have mine. I would like to hear yours toward the end of the show. Um, I'm going to go down the list of teams that are going to win on Sunday, and I just want everybody to hear it because shout out to my man that was locked up. I seen a viral video on Twitter. My man was locked up in the jail, giving the parlay off. And he hit. My boy knew what he was talking about. So I'm going to go here. Lions, Jaguars, Dolphins, Broncos, Ravens. Yes, I said Broncos. Ravens, Bengals, Colts, Buccaneers, Eagles, Vikings, Steelers, Raiders, Cowboys, 49ers, Chiefs. Those are your winners on Sunday. I looked at it. I did the math. Those are the winners right there. That being said, tonight, Lions Packers in Lambeau. Jordan Love playing against the Lions for the first time in his career. What do we got here? What are we seeing tonight, Kev?
I think Jordan Love has been phenomenal to this point. And I think the most impressive game he had was actually against the Saints because one, he was playing a great defense. And then two, to start the game the way Green Bay started the game and for him to keep them in it and then come back and win the game to me was more impressive than the first week where he was pretty lights out. Just because he had to deal with that adversity and the game could have slipped away easily down. I think they were down 17-0, right? Going into halftime. And then ended up winning 18-17, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that's what you want to see out of your quarterback. Like you want to see poise. You want to see if he gets down, he can still bring you back. And I think there's a lot of people who are starting to believe in that Packer quarterback magic because it looks like they did it again. And it's crazy. But as far as tonight, I think Green Bay wins. I like Green Bay at home in Lambeau. I know the Lions are favored, but I'm a believer in Jordan Love at this point. Until he proves me otherwise, it just looks like the Packers are still going to run the North to me. But I also told you before the season, I think the Lions are like a 9-8 team. I'm not a believer in the Lions yet either. So,
what was your stance on the Bears before the season? I forgot.
I do not love Justin Fields as a quarterback. I think he is a tremendous football player. I don't love him throwing the football though.
Fair. We got Ray, who's a fellow listener. I'm trying to keep up with the comments here. Sorry. Say it again for the people in the back. All this basketball politics is underlying trolling. That's hilarious. So Ray is a Packers fan. I was saying Ray from the chat. He's a Packers fan, and I respect the fact that Jordan Love has come in and played exceptional football. Like, I'm not going to deny what he's done. Now, we saw last week their offensive struggles and what it can look like when things are going bad. 17-zip was not a place that they wanted to be. And I like the fact that you mentioned that when your quarterback can bring you back from that adversity and win the game, you got to appreciate that. I always say last year when he played in Sunday night, when Aaron Rodgers got hurt versus Philadelphia, it was a great game. And he came in and it was seamless to him, right? Like, it looked like he played 2 games already this season before. They being the Packers, being healthy this week is going to help. Having Aaron Jones back, getting Christian Watson finally in the lineup for the first time this season is going to be a great help. The Lions are at a point right now where this is a game that, in my opinion, ultimately can dictate the season. Now, not in the sense of playoffs, not in the sense of like, are they still, they can't win the division if they lose, but it just sets a tone. Now, you come out, you beat the Chiefs on Thursday night, great game. You know what I mean? You lose in overtime to a Seattle team that, frankly, you should have won that game. This week is a big week for Jared Goff and that Lions defense to prove we are the new kings in the North. You see the Vikings sitting at 0-3 right now, and they've got to play a Carolina team who, if they, not only should they beat them, but that game should not be good because they have a backup quarterback in, and the Vikings have a lot of talent on their roster. Now, going back to Detroit, winning this game versus the Packers just sets them in the sense of, all right, look, we are at the top of the division. We are the team to beat in this division. But if you lose this game tonight, it's going to go back to who's going to win the North. We don't know. We don't know. Obviously, the Vikings and the Bears are their own disappointment, and it's going to come down to the Packers and the Lions. But we didn't think in the new era of quarterback in this Green Bay offense that the Lions were still going to be the little brother. They have to establish their dominance for this division tonight. It starts tonight, and I think we see that. They can run the ball. Montgomery's healthy. Taylor Decker, left tackle, is coming back. He's going to be healthy. And Dan Campbell, this game means a lot to Dan Campbell as a coach. You know, winning the big games, winning them when they matter. Obviously, I have money on the game, but I don't bet. I barely bet. So it really has nothing to do with how, I bet. It really has nothing to do with how I feel about it personally. I just truly think the Lions are a better team and play more consistent football. And I think that they'll also have a lot of success running the ball if they use Jahmyr Gibbs more than they have in the last few weeks because they drafted him in the first round, right? Let's see what you drafted him for.
Which is weird because I feel like that's like the situation that David Montgomery was in Chicago is like he's a great back and they just wouldn't give him the ball. And now Montgomery's here and he's taking touches from Gibbs, but you drafted Gibbs in the first round. You'd expect him to get more than 7 carries in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They also paid Montgomery.
Real quick, because, apologize to the viewers for the technical difficulties that, I was having momentarily, but I'm here and I'm back. Shout out to Ronald Acuna. I'm gonna do this recap real quick. Shout out to Ronald Acuna, boys balling. I still got the Braves and the Rays in the World Series, and I think I am willing to sell one of my legs to go to a World Series game when I move to Atlanta in a couple weeks. But that's neither here nor there. Definitely fire fucking Boone. Get him the fuck out of New York. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, we have the talent, we have everything. It's not a player thing at this point. It's a fucking coaching thing. Shout out to that boy Justin Fields. All right. So get Boone the fuck up out of there. General, I don't just blow up that whole managing squad that they have in the Steinbrenner office and start over. Don't know, because if we think that Aaron Judge is a lifer in today's climate with the way this team is going, he will fucking pack his bags and get the fuck out of New York quicker than we can blink. That's the other thing I wanted to say. And definitely Lions money line tonight. I got a good chunk of change on it. That's all.
All right. Now that we're all caught up here and EP is back. By the way, I was devastated just about 3 minutes ago. I texted EP. I said, "Bro, you back?" He said, "Man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to." But he's back, man. So shout out to OBS fucking with us. Shout out to YouTube Live, and shout out to EP working through them technical difficulties over there. Producer of the year. Now, let's talk about the slate. Right? We got a interesting week this week. Only a few like really good games to the eye. I'm sure we're going to get more good games once Sunday's all said and done. But the first game I wanted to talk about with y'all is the best game of the week that I think we'll see, and that's going to be Buffalo hosting the Miami Dolphins with that firepower offense. We saw them put up over 700 yards versus. We didn't even get to talk about this because we didn't record Monday, but they put up 736 yards on what we thought would be a revamped, better Denver Broncos team. And to be honest, this team looks like a carbon copy of last year. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett left and
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, like
Payton can't. Seems like Sean Payton can't hack it, huh?
Which in a few weeks we do see Jets Broncos, right? I believe week
Next
5,
week.
Jets Broncos
Next week. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But Miami's gonna go to Buffalo with that firepower offense. They go on the road. This will be their third road game. They had their home opener last week, so they can. What are you expecting, EP? What are you expecting out of this Miami offense this week, knowing that they're going to play a more competitive defense, a division rival in a big game early in the season? Do you think we're going to see the same high-powered offense that we've seen go through weeks 1 through 3? Or are we going to see maybe, okay, you know what? Real life is settling in. The Bills are a true division, a tough divisional opponent, and it'll get a little tricky. What do you see this week?
Was that Josh Allen on Monday Night Football against the division rival?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which is the Josh Allen who is the Josh Allen that we think he is?
Oh,
Carson Wentz? Yep. Yep. Kev, before I go to you, I want to say Mike McDaniel, obviously on his way to coach of the year right now, but the message in the locker room has to be, guys, they think we can't put up 500 yards on the Bills. They think what we did was what we did to Denver and Los Angeles, right? And who was their week 2 opponent on the road? I forgot who they played week 2. Who did they play week 2, Kev?
New England.
Dolphins?
New England.
New England, right?
Who contained them?
Right, elite defense, and I knew that would be a pretty good game. Mike McDaniel's message in the locker room has to be, guys, we need to go out there, smash these boys in the mouth, run our offense with full confidence, and run it up on these boys because they think that what we're doing is a fluke. And nobody's saying that what the Dolphins are doing is a fluke. The Dolphins are getting national respect. The Dolphins are at the top of, if you look at NFL.com's power rankings right now, and Stephen A. Smith's power rankings for the NFL, Miami Dolphins are number 1. So they're definitely getting the respect they deserve and the credit. But this is a big game right here, like EP said. This is a divisional game right here. This game is going to set a tone for the rest of the season, much like tonight's game between Detroit and Green Bay for the division. I'll say this: Buffalo's lucky they're playing at home while it's still hot in Miami. It's going to be hot year round, but you get what I'm saying. It's hotter at this point of the year. Miami has a great chance to do some really historic shit this week and embarrass the Bills. I don't think that happens. Kev, what do you think happens on Sunday?
I think we see like the Dolphins have looked like the best offense in the league. I think the question becomes, can they? This is probably who they play week 1. The Dolphins. They played
Chargers.
Okay, and we saw what that offense did to them, to their defense at least. And then the next 2 weeks they played a couple of lackluster offenses. So I think more so than we see what they can be on offense. We know what they are on offense with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, the running backs. You look at A-Chain, what he did, 203 yards, 4 touchdowns total, 59 fantasy points on my bench. But then, so we know what that offense is and what they're more or less going to be, even if it's not going to get to 70 points again, but that's a team that can easily go out and drop 30, 40 on you every Sunday. I think it's no, you're good. I was going to say, I think this is more of a statement game for their defense than their offense because it is Josh Allen. It is Stephon Diggs. You do have those weapons on the offensive side of the ball for Buffalo. Perennial MVP candidate in Josh Allen. Every year he's always considered to be, on that level. So it's, can you stop the elite offenses? Because in the playoffs, that's what's going to need to happen. So I think if the Dolphins come out and win a 14-10 game, that would impress me more than the Dolphins coming out and winning like a 38-35 game.
Also, EP, before you get that off, I do want to say Josh Allen is a great quarterback. Josh Allen is elite, and Josh Allen does make a lot of mistakes. 2 things can be true, but don't look forward or expect Josh Allen to come out and just make these mistakes and bonehead plays. This is a guy who's gotten his team deep into the playoffs multiple seasons. So just something to look out for. What you was going to say, though?
The Jets.
It sounds like you're putting some hefty change on that one as well. Let's talk about another game. Philadelphia versus Washington in Philadelphia. Philadelphia started this season 3-0. I don't know where you guys have Philadelphia on that top 5 power rankings. I don't want to know right now, but I do want to get the sentiment of what you think is going to happen in this game because they haven't played their best football of the year yet. I think all of their best football is ahead of them, Philadelphia, but they're still sitting at 3-0 and still finding ways to win and win these games convincingly. So, it's a divisional opponent. The reason I wanted to talk about it was because I think Philly was 9-0 last year when they played Washington on Monday Night Football, and they lost that game, and nobody thought that the Commanders were going to come out and beat the Eagles, but they did. And so I don't know if that was Philly playing down to their opponent, whatever the case is. However, Washington has a chance right now to do something pretty impressive, and that's beat the Eagles on the road. I don't think it happens. Kev, what do you see coming from this game here?
I think we see Philadelphia run away with this game. I think we kind of see what happened in Buffalo is going to happen to Washington again. Like it's going to be back-to-back weeks of them just getting beat down and kind of run through. Sam Howell had a very nice first 2 weeks of the season, but now he's playing some of the top defenses in the league, and we see what that looked like last week. And I think it's going to be some more growing pains for him. And Sam Howell has looked good, through those first 2 weeks. So I think there is promise there. But as a rookie or a young quarterback, you have to go through these growing pains, I think. And I think when you're playing these elite defenses, that's exactly what happens. So he would surprise if he comes out this week though and plays a great game against Philly. Then that would really be impressive because then it's like, okay, he's taking, strides within weeks of. We just saw what he did against Buffalo, 4 interceptions. And then if he's able to bounce back this week against a really good Philadelphia defense and kind of, put together a good game, then that would impress me. But I just don't think he's there yet.
Yeah, I definitely don't either. Also, what Jalen Carter is doing, what I'm saying, for that defensive line is incredible right now. And Philadelphia's defense as a whole is playing as a good unit. But this to me is not a game Philadelphia is going to play with. I think they look back at last year and realize, you know what, we let Washington get that game, and this is one of those, like, you're holding on to that, and you remember that we were 9-0 at one point. We're not going to let Washington be the first team to beat us this season like we did last season. So with that being said, I think you take the Eagles to cover the spread, whatever the spread is, and I think that they win in a dominating fashion because like you said, Kev, Sam Howell has come out and impressed a lot of us. Like, coming out of UNC, I was a Sam Howell hater. He's thrown the U down too many times for me to ever respect him. So it's definitely, you know what I'm saying, like pressure with Sam Howell for life. But you gotta accept and give credit where it's due. He has been playing really good football for that team and leading them. And ever since he's taken over, Washington has been in a better place. Now, do Ron Rivera being the coach in Washington is a part of their problem, right? And until he's not their coach anymore and they find the coach of the future who has a more sense of style for what a modern, NFL offense looks like, the Washington Commanders are going to find themselves, kind of in the same pool of, 8 wins, 9 wins, 7, 8, 9, and not a playoff berth. But
and I imagine. No, I was just going to say, I imagine if Rivera is let go at any point, whether it's this season or in the offseason, Bieniemy is that guy who takes over.
Yeah. Nice. Um, I- w- so we're having some trouble right now. EP, they're saying you're not audible. I don't know what it is. If you can try to figure that out, I wish I had the answer. I don't, but we'll act like they heard you because we did, and and I'm not going to try to repeat everything you just said. But for now, Kev, last question on the Eagles. It has nothing to do with this game today, but it was more so. You know what? It's not even a question. I just want to bring up what I saw from a presser when Jalen Hurts was asked about they're 3-0, and he's still critical on himself and the team and how they're not playing their best football right now. And he's not necessarily satisfied or happy with 3-0, and he still thinks this team has room to improve. And the reporter asked him, why do you take that stance? You guys are doing good, you guys are winning football, why do you take the stance? And what he said was, losing is what made me feel this way. So and people don't really remember, I feel, about Jalen Hurts. Like, he got drafted in the second round, didn't start, had to sit, came in, didn't play amazing, got benched, and then had to come in again and prove himself all over again. And from there, when Shane Steichen, former OC of the Eagles, now coach of the Colts, came in, he kind of led him to the success that they found in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Hurts, if you ask me, I didn't see him being a top 5 to top 7 quarterback in this league after he got drafted. I didn't. So for him to have worked himself up to the point he is, to go to the Super Bowl and put up 450 yards as an offense last year plus, and then come out this year and still go 3-0, it's just kind of a credit to his work ethic. And I'll say this again, I've said it on multiple pods. Jalen Hurts, ever since his first year at Alabama, has just gotten better and better and better as a quarterback. Even when he transferred out, got benched in the national championship game for Tua Tagovailoa, transferred out, played for Lincoln Riley, goes to the Heisman finalist, and then comes to the NFL, drafted second round, has to sit behind a Carson Wentz, and then go to the Super Bowl and lose to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's just done an exceptional job. So shout out to Jalen Hurts for that. Can we talk
1,000%.
about the New England Patriots at Dallas? And the reason I want to talk about this game is because last week we saw Dallas go down to Arizona, and we saw an amazing 2.5 quarters out of Arizona versus the Giants at home 2 weeks ago. Um, Started out real strong. Obviously, weren't able to sustain that comeback from the Giants, but they come out and beat another, or not another, but they beat an NFC East opponent, and that's one of the best teams in the league, one of the best teams in the NFC. Dallas Cowboys shit the bed against a team that honestly should be 0-16 this year, is what we thought coming into this year. So, talking about last week, leading into this week, is what we saw last week versus the Cowboys for Arizona a product of who Arizona is this year that we didn't believe in? Or was it the Cowboys playing down to their opponent? Now we see the Cowboys playing down to this opponent, or are the Patriots going to be just good enough to compete in this game?
I think that was the most Cowboys loss ever. Like, all the hype around you, everybody talking about how good the defense is, how good the offense is, how good the team looks, Super Bowl expectations now after 2 weeks. And then, like you said, you go to a team that's expected to be tanking to try to get that first pick, and you put that performance up. That's like the most Dallas Cowboys thing I've ever, like, if I've ever seen a Dallas Cowboys thing, that was it. Um, so I think this week, in Dallas Cowboys fashion, they bounce back and they take care of business against the Patriots. However, I do think it's going to be a competitive game. I don't remember seeing Bill Belichick ever get blown out. So I don't see it happening this week. I think it's going to be competitive for the most part. And yeah, I do think the Cowboys take it though.
P.
Um, I mean, I definitely do think the Cowboys take it. I mean, this is, I think, a very personal. It's personal. It's what I'll say. It's personal at the end of the day for this one. And I mean, we're gonna have to see, Tony Pollard put the team on his back, obviously with Dak Prescott, but it's gonna take more than just Dak Prescott making the right reads and making the right throws and things like that. It's gonna take a team effort. At the end of the day, I know that they're 1-2, but this is still Bill Belichick, and I think that the league respects his ability to gather to rally the troops, as they say, and bring them onto the battlefield and come out with some sort of result. I don't think that you can ever really count the New England Patriots out of anything unless it's like week 18 and they're, 4 and something. Then I bet cool. But if they're in the hunt, then Bill Belichick would do what he has to do to make it, to get the job done essentially. I do think that Dallas pulls this off just because, again, of how personal this thing is, and ugh, we're gonna have to see everybody. Like I said, we're gonna have to see, CD. We're gonna have to see everybody just come together in order to make a good homestand here and make sure that Bill Belichick doesn't come in and do some Bill Belichick wand magic fairy waving and walk out with a W out of Dallas. Really, in my
And it's
opinion.
also a chance for Tony Pollard to show Dallas that they made the right choice in letting Zeke go while Zeke's on the other sideline. So I think Tony Pollard has a big game. I think he's got a lot to show this week just because Zeke is on that other sideline, and I think he's going to want to show like, yo, this is why they let you go, and this is why they kept me as RB1.
Yeah, and I mean from a betting perspective, right? Because you know me, I'm that guy. The line being Cowboys -6.5 is very telling to me. I would stay as far away from this game as humanly possible, because 6.5 points against Bill Belichick is wild. But it's that 6.5. It's the touchdown. It's the extra point that you could or could not miss. It's a very tricky line. I would not touch this game. I wouldn't go anywhere near. Maybe take some props. Maybe take CD Lamb for some yards or something, whatever. But I would stay far away from this game.
I would take Zeke anytime touchdown is the one prop that I would take because I think they'll look to get him that
Or
against Dallas.
well,
This
he
is
didn't
going to
really
be
do it. He
interesting.
didn't. I'm sorry, June. He didn't really do it when he was in
No,
the
you good.
Cowboys uniform. So what makes you think he's going to do it when he's in a Patriots uniform? All right. So what were you saying, June?
What you mean?
Now
He
I
was
was going to
hopping
say,
in the bucket.
I think this is going to be this is going to be interesting because this is arguably one of the best league. Obviously, the NFC because the Dolphins take the AFC and the Chiefs obviously have that as well. But in the NFC, you look at the Cowboys and it's probably the most elite offense in the league. So for them to play the Patriots and the Patriots to be able to contain Miami the way they did and give their selves a chance at the end of the game is something to look at because I feel like everybody that looks at the schedule is like, okay, we got the Patriots, we should win this game. But that's if you can score on Bill Belichick's defense, and if you can do it for a first half, great. But can you do it for 4 quarters? And that's going to be the tell-all. So I do think the Cowboys win this game. I don't see them going,
Sure.
losing 2 straight to Arizona and New England. You
For
never
sure.
know. And the Patriots are going to compete, but Mac Jones, I said this before, Mac Jones versus an elite pass rush,
He's
he
not
doesn't
him.
have it. The athleticism is not there and the arm strength isn't there to combat it. So look for Micah Parsons to have a really good game. I don't think Trevon Diggs affects them this week. So yeah, I think the Cowboys
And
take this game.
I think also, I think Dallas is seeing this right now and seeing, Philly is playing Washington this week, and Philly will probably beat Washington. We can't remain tied with Washington in the standings after this week. We need to be 3-1. Like we have to be 3-1. All right. So I think that's going to be an extra motivating factor there. Um, it, it's going to be a good game, man. I'm excited for this one.
And the Patriots are also Randall Cobb keeping his footing away from being 0-3. So
Hey man, I saw a tweet, and don't quote me, but quote Sean. He said, "You know what? I'm not gonna quote him, but it had something to do with get Randall Cobb's old ass off my fucking team, something like that." And I could see why he felt that way. But
he did have a big
nonetheless,
catch, though. He did have a big third down catch on that scoring drive. So, I mean,
it's too bad Zach Wilson's your quarterback.
For now.
Hey, real quick, you know what? I'll wait. Rams at Colts. Rams at Colts. I'm excited.
Yeah,
That
I see
Anthony
what you're about to do
Richardson-
there, June, and I don't appreciate that. But continue.
No. I promise. I promise you don't know. I promise. Rams at Colts. We're coming off of an amazing win in Baltimore last week. No Anthony Richardson. We go in there with a backup quarterback and a great defense. Lamar Jackson, good football this year. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks inside the line. PFF has him as the most accurate quarterback inside the lines so far throughout 3 weeks. And we were able to make him fumble 2 times. They had a bad snap fumble, it was just sloppy football in Baltimore, and the Colts were able to get pressure. And I don't have the number. I think it was 4 sacks. I could be wrong, but we had something along the lines of 3 or 4 sacks and about 3 forced fumbles. So what we've seen from this Colts team is that they're winning the turnover battle, right? Every game. They're running the ball effectively, and they're not shooting themselves in the foot. Now, we got to clean up a little bit of things like false start penalties that we've seen from Quentin Nelson here and there, a tight end. But you got to remember, this Colts team is a team that was the worst team in the league, or one of the worst teams in the league last year. And everybody had them coming into this year like no expectation. We don't even know if you guys will win 5 games. Now, here we are, week 4, sitting at 2-1, atop the division, with a chance to beat the Rams. And we have a stretch right now. I texted it in the group chat earlier, the Colts stretch. We play teams like the Titans, Jaguars, Browns, Panthers, Saints, and there's another team in there. And realistically, I think we can go 3-3 in that 6-game span. But it's possible we go 4-2. Now, we're sitting at 2-1. We go 4-2 right now. And that's 2 wins over divisional matchups. That'll put us at 6-3. And if you were to ask me or anybody else in this world that are the Colts going to be at 6-3 through 10 weeks, the answer is hell no. Again, we're not there yet. I don't want to speak, you know what I'm saying, too forward. You got to keep it weak. But what we've seen from this defense and the front seven's pressure, getting the quarterbacks, forcing turnovers, fumbles, and interceptions, it's promising. And it just leads you to believe that this team is not as bad as everybody thinks. And this team is more complete than everybody thinks. So we just watched the Rams struggle to move the ball downfield against the Bengals, who struggled against them to move the ball downfield because Joe Burrow still hasn't really found his rhythm and stride, and he's dealing with a calf injury. What's going to be interesting is going to be the interior pass rush versus the interior pass blocking for the Colts Rams. And Aaron Donald obviously leading the force, Quentin Nelson on our side. Who's going to win that matchup? And I think that's going to give you the outcome of the game right there. If we can get some containment from that guy, Aaron Donald, obviously you have to imagine that we have a chance to win because Matthew Stafford is not having a lot of success, and that offensive line for the Rams looks very, very lackluster. So you know that guys like Kwity Paye and guys like Samson Ebukam have to be drooling over watching that Monday night game, right? Like we have to get at least 3 sacks times on Monday night. So anything less of, a 3-sack performance for this defense, in my eyes, will be a failure, and not a failure as far as a long-term or anything, but, for this game plan, you have to take advantage of the weaknesses. And I'll just be looking forward to a guy like Alec Pierce stepping up in his role because, we drafted him in the second round. He hasn't necessarily panned out as we thought he would, being that, fast, big 6'4" receiver on the outside. But there's still time. And he's obviously with a new quarterback. Anthony Richardson has only played 5 quarters this season due to injury. So I do think we see a Colts victory over the Rams. Kev, can I get an honest opinion from your perspective, please?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is I wish my QB1 played 5 quarters this season.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
But,
I'm sorry. That was a genuine apology too.
Hey man, you got to feel for us right now. We're down in the dumps. But I mean, I like the Rams. I think they've, like, you see how they're competing every week in and week out, regardless of who they're playing. They've been pretty strong, I think. You look at Tutu Atwell and Puka. Is it Puka Nakua? Is his last name? It's the way Stafford has utilized those guys, and Kyron Williams. I know last week wasn't a great showing for their offense, but I think to this point they've been pretty impressive without Cooper Kupp, and obviously the expectation that Cam Akers was going to come in and have a great season this year, according to McVay, and then he's traded after 2 weeks. But so yeah, I think is Anthony Richardson back this week, or is Gardner Minshew?
He's on schedule because he had to clear 2 physical practices,
so I guess
to get off the protocol.
Just depending on that, but I think the Rams probably come away with a win against Indy.
Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. I believe that Colts -1.5 is a fucking lock. Take it to the bank. I get, Aaron Donaldson being that guy. I'm really looking for someone like Zaire Franklin Jr. to make a huge difference in this game. He had a phenomenal year last year, obviously, and he's off to a crazy start this year. When you look at a team like the Rams, who have a quarterback and Matt Stafford, Super Bowl champ, I'll give him it. You know what I'm saying? Pause. That was crazy.
Some call him Stat Padford.
I'm calling Stat Padford. Shout out to Nate Perk. But he's thrown twice as many picks this year as he has touchdowns. Not cool. He's also their second leading rusher. So when you have a guy like Matt Stafford on your team who's your second leading rusher, and you have a man like Zaire Franklin on the opposite side behind that defensive line, it's going to be a long fucking day for that Rams offense.
Hey, EP,
give me Colts -1.5, bro.
Hold on.
Give me Colts -1.5.
Hold on, EP, you got me in my bag right now, because for you to shout out Zaire Franklin, it means you watching ball, bro. It means you know what's going on. Shout out to 44, captain on defense.
Is June still on here? Because I cannot see or hear him now.
That's crazy.
We got June. I got June. June was.
They got me, bro. I'm watching. Hold on. I'm watching the stream. They got me. Look, like I was saying, EP, I feel like Pat McAfee right now. Shout out to Pat McAfee show. Look, leading the NFL in tackles, leading the Colts defense, being the most consistent player on our defensive 11, Zaire Franklin does not get the credit he deserves. He's rated like 70 in Madden. This is how bad it is. EJ Speed, Shaquille Leonard, Zaire Franklin is a top 5 linebacking core in the league, and I need the league to understand this. We have size, we have speed, and we have strength in that group, in that department, right? And you know what it means when you have 3 solid linebackers. That means you're getting pressure up the middle. That means that the outsides are contained and you're playing sideline to sideline. So that's why guys like Lamar Jackson and guys like Gus Edwards and guys like Justice Hill for the Ravens weren't able to find that success. That's why Travis Etienne wasn't able to find much success week 1. And in week 2, Damian Pierce, a respectable running back, He wasn't able to find success against the Colts because our linebacking group is fast and strong and very underrated and underestimated, overlooked. Whatever word you want to put in there, use it. This week, we're going to see that again. Matt Stafford does not have Cooper Kupp to dink and dunk his way through and chop and screw this defense up. He's going to need to find guys like Tutu Atwell, like he mentioned. He needs to find guys like Puka Nuka. Sorry, I don't remember his name. He's just breaking out this year. But when you don't have that guy, right? Think about who beat us. We're 2-1. Jacksonville, Calvin Ridley.
And first place in the division. Don't forget that part.
Give it
first
up.
Place in the division.
Yeah, for sure. Calvin Ridley, give it up. He's number one, clear cut. They were able to get anything they wanted week 1. But the big credit has to go to defensive coordinator Gus Bradley for figuring it out week by week, drive by drive. Last week, first drive, you watch the highlights, not even the highlights. If you just go back and watch the first drive, Lamar Jackson was surgical, and he embarrassed us on the first drive, finding holes in each and every part of the zone and moved the ball upfield and then ended up scoring on a rushing touchdown. He had 2 of them. Shout out to Lamar Jackson. But what did Gus Bradley do? He made the adjustments. He realized what we had to tighten up. He realized that, guess what? Lamar Jackson isn't throwing the ball deep. Guess what? Lamar Jackson isn't going to abuse us with Mark Andrews this week. And we made the correct adjustments. And it was such a motherfucking roller coaster. Excuse my language, but a roller coaster of emotion that I had to go through to watch this game. When I tell you, I did not think I would have to see Matt Gay hit 4 50-yard field goals to win this game, much less in overtime hit a game winner. But we did. And I'm okay with that because know why? It showed resiliency. It showed that this team has no quit. It showed that this team plays together. And unlike last year when we had a 33-0 lead on Minnesota and let them come back in the second half and beat us 36-33 in the most embarrassing loss in NFL history, we're not the same Colts. And I need people to understand that just because last year this, last year that, doesn't mean this year this year that. It is a new day. We have a new coaching staff. We have a new quarterback. And Michael Pittman is a top 10 wide receiver in the league and top 5 catch wide receiver in the league. That's all I'm going to say. We can move on to the next game.
I believe that you were actually about to pin me and Kev against each other with this Chiefs and Jets matchup before we got into this game. That's what I thought you were gonna do. And you're on mute right now, June. You're just letting us. All right, Kev, let's talk about it. How you feel about this? How you feel about this matchup that we got against each other this week?
Well, first thing is I'm listening on YouTube also because that's the only way I can hear June right now. So it's like a 10-second delay because he is not on my screen for whatever reason. But how do I feel about Chiefs Jets? So this is what I said this earlier this week. I forget who.
The line's open at 9.5. Chiefs minus 9.5. Of course, I didn't think I had to clarify that, but I will.
No, you didn't have to. So I was telling somebody earlier this week, this is the most like this is the game that the Jets win, right? Because hold on, let me explain myself because I know that sounds crazy, but let me just explain what my thought process. The whole offseason is Jets Super Bowl, Jets to Super Bowl, Jets to Super Bowl. It's like the high hope for the Jets fans, right? Like your hopes are like all the way up at the beginning of the season. Rodgers goes out, hopes plummet. You win that game against Buffalo, hopes back up. Last 2 weeks have been terrible. You know, Zach Wilson's been awful, missing open guys. Not missing them, like not throwing it and missing them, like not seeing open guys. And now you bring in Trevor Siemian, and the whole fan base is like, yeah, we got a new quarterback. Trevor Siemian is going to be out there, whatever, even though it's Trevor Siemian and we know who he is. So this is the game that the Jets maybe not win even, but come out and compete. And Zach Wilson looks like not terrible. And then Jets fans are like, okay, with this defense, maybe we do have something. And then we're gonna lose to the Broncos the next week, and then it's just gonna be all downhill. But so that's the only reason I think like maybe the Jets can win this game. But realistically speaking, no, the Jets should not be anywhere close in this game. Like the 9.5 should be the easy.
Kev, I hate to do this to you, bro. I respect your opinion. You know that. That's why I have you on the show. You got to get the entirely fuck out of here with that. All right. The Jets have no chance this week. All right. Zach Wilson is not going to play decent football. Zach Wilson is not a decent quarterback. And none of that is true. None of that is true. The only thing you said that was true is that you might lose to the Broncos next week. But as far as Sunday Night Football versus Kansas City, let's be entirely honest here. Let's be entirely honest here. I understand we have a show. I understand there is an entertainment value to this, and
I said
and
at
we
the end
appreciate
though.
what you. Zach Wilson plays decent football, and I wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh man, yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I know Mahomes tweaked his ankle against Chicago. He'll be fine. I am a little concerned with Chris Jones. He was a little limited this week, apparently, according to some reports in practice. I do think we'll be fine. Patrick
EP, it's
Mahomes.
all good.
Yeah.
It's
I
all
wouldn't lay
good.
9.5 points, but definitely you could throw the roof at it. I know you wanted my power rankings. I got them for you. You ready? All right, cool. Um, I'm gonna start at 5. I'm gonna do 5-1 because it's always a little a little more interesting that way. I got Dallas at 5, right? I'm gonna give the Eagles at 4. I'll put San Fran at 3, Chiefs at 2, Dolphins at numero uno. Got to put the Dolphins at numero uno.
Run that back from the top just one more time.
I got you. Dallas at 5, right? Eagles at 4, right? San Fran at 3, Chiefs at 2, Dolphins at 1.
Kev, is it just me, or do you smell a little bias out of that KC at 2 over San Fran?
I'm not putting anything into the Detroit loss. I'm just not. I said that we were going to lose, so I'm not putting anything into that Detroit loss.
Well, first off, just because you said you were going to lose don't mean shit. I'm just saying. 2, you should put a little something into it because of how bad your offense from the game. Now, I understand why you take it with a grain of salt because we know the Chiefs, and we know that by week 8 they're going to be in full stride and headed to winning the division, and then getting to that first, second, or third seed in the AFC. I get that, but the dominating fashion in which San Francisco has played this year and the defensive side of the ball, it just troubles me to see how you have Kansas City over San Francisco, but I respect it. I'm not going to take anything away from that. That is a good 2-1 team you got there. So nice list. Kev? Do we got Kev? Kev, you got a top 5? You got a power rankings for us?
I don't know if you started talking again because again I'm watching you on the YouTube. But yes, I do have a top 5. And if you didn't like where E had the Chiefs, you're not gonna like where I have them. I'll say that much. But so and my number 5 is actually I think gonna surprise people too, because I think this is the best defense in the league right now. But the Cleveland Browns, I have at number 5 because that
All right, end the
defense,
show. End the show. End the show, Jude.
that
End the
defense,
show, Jude.
that defense,
End the show, Jude.
that defense has been insane. They've given up 21 first downs all year. That defense is that's a team that should be 3-0 if their offense doesn't turn it over 6 times against Pittsburgh. That is a very scary defense, and I think by the end of the season, people will agree with them being the top 5 team. At number 4, who did I have at 4? I think I had Philly at 4. Philly. I have Philly at 4. I have San Francisco at 3. I have the Dolphins at 2, and I have the Chiefs, who have not lost at full strength yet, at number 1.
I like the list
Okay,
at
so
around 1, but you got the Browns in your top 5 is crazy, bro. That shit is just
Who's been
crazy,
better?
bro.
Who's been better defensively than the Browns, though?
no, I respect it in the sense that yes, they have had an amazing defense so far. You look at that offense and you have to wonder what's going on with Deshaun Watson. We got him throwing the ball backward instead of taking sacks. Like, he doesn't use his feet the way he did in 2019. He going toe to toe on offense with the Steelers. Like, and the Steelers got a good defense. I'm not hating on the Steelers defense, but I mean, let's be honest, bro. Losing Nick Chubb is also So can you run that list back real quick? 5 Browns, 4 Dallas.
It is, but losing Nick Chubb hurts them, but they've shown that they can also. My bad. This delay is really fucking us up. But but yeah, I got Browns 5, Eagles 4, San Francisco 3, Miami 2, Kansas City 1. And the only reason I've got Kansas City 1 is because they lose that game to Detroit, barely lose that game to Detroit with no Chris Jones, no Travis Kelce, and they're the defending Super Bowl champions. So if they have Kelce and Jones in that game, you expect them to win. They'd be 3-0, and I think everybody has them at number 1, regardless of what else happens in the league.
Okay, so I'll just close this out here with my power rankings, top 5 from 5 to 1. At 5, I got Buffalo. I think what Buffalo has been able to do offensively and defensively, they've shown flashes that they are still that great Buffalo team. Now, Josh Allen still is going to be the questionable quarterback that, like he says, we know him to be. But if you had to ask me, you got to play a game today and you need to play Buffalo, it's going to be a tough game. Got Buffalo at 5. I've got Kansas City at 4. So, obviously EP at 2, Kev at 1. I've got them at 4. I think that they should be sitting at 3-0 if you take away the Kadarius Toney drop, turn, pick 6, or whatever the case. At the end of the day, you lose games, you lose the game. There's no, we could have had this back. Kadarius Toney is a member of the 53-man roster, and he made the play to help the Lions find themselves victorious there. And if that was a Super Bowl, we'd be talking about another team beating the Chiefs. So I got the Chiefs at 4. Philadelphia Eagles at 3. What they've done so far, they've been rusty, but they've been winless. They've been able to win every game, and they've been able to do that kind of comfortably. We haven't necessarily seen them struggling through games. We've just seen them looking a little bit rusty and like they haven't, done this in a while. Also, that defensive line is amazing. So I have to put them over Kansas City because I have more confidence in the Eagles defense than I do the Chiefs defense. At 2, an even more powerful defense and a consistent offense, Brock Purdy and the 49ers. This guy is not a fluke. Mr. Irrelevant isn't, just last year he was able to figure it out and Listen, he found his way in this offense. Kyle Shanahan knows exactly his strengths, and he plays to them, and that helps him out. He's got Christian McCaffrey, he's got George Kittle, and he's got guys like Deebo Samuel, Tim Jennings out on the outside. This team is very physical, right? This is when you talk about football and smash mouth, you want a team like San Francisco and guys on that roster who are competing and smashing dudes in the mouth. Trent Williams, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, stiff arm. You know what I'm saying? And Brock Purdy is tough as nails. We saw him come back from that elbow injury from last year. Shout out to him. Big Dirty. At number 1, I'm proud, man. I'm proud. Shout out to South Florida. Shout out to Broward County, Miami-Dade County, County line. You know, Hard Rock Stadium. If you're driving on a turnpike south and you pass, whatever you pass over there after you pass Hollywood, Miramar, you're going to see Hard Rock Stadium right there on the right. And right now, the hottest team in football is hosting games. Thank you. Is hosting games in that stadium. And I don't know if it's a stadium because, the Hurricanes, I ain't mentioned them all podcasts, but them Hurricanes sitting at 4-0 as well. Shout out to the U. That's not what we're going to do right now. But the Dolphins putting over 700 yards on the Broncos, doing what they did against the Chargers, and, finding themselves in these comfortable wins under Coach Mike McDaniel. They look like they're having fun. Tua, we've said this even since last year, when he's healthy, the man is him. He's him. And shout out to Coach Brian Dable, who said the man can hit a keyhole. He can hit a keyhole. And that's the type of accuracy that the Dolphins knew that they were getting when they drafted him. They knew that the big arm was Herbert. They knew that, the fast guy was. Tua is the guy that's going to put the ball on the numbers, deliver it to the receiver. And if your offensive line can protect him and keep him upright, you will be blessed. We've seen that. Mike McDaniel
even if they can't, they will be blessed.
Mike McDaniel knows how to draw up a elite run scheme week in and week out. He's got guys like Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert looking like Pro Bowl running backs right now. So I can't deny the Dolphins' talent. And if you asked me if the Dolphins played in the Super Bowl today, I think they win it. So
let's go.
Hey, we're not going to get to EPL this week. We'll close out here.
I do just want to.
Do you guys have any questions?
See, I don't know if somebody started talking.
You good?
Kev, we're closing out. This is a crazy episode.
Yeah,
had the fucking Browns in this top 5. Get out of here, bro. Hey,
bro, best defense in the league. Best defense in the league. I don't care.
Hey,
aside from Deshaun Watson throwing the ball backwards.
Jesus Christ! If he used his hands, if he used his legs, like he uses. Let me stop. Anyways, I'll close out with 3 dubs, official video. Me, my boy Private Nate, out right now on YouTube. Go to the Small Town YouTube and you'll see it. First video. We worked hard on it. It's been a long time, in the process. So go check that out. Run that up for me.
Shout out to Small Town. Shout out to Small Town EP. Shout out to 1996 Blue Taraj hosting the All Things Sports podcast this week. Appreciate everybody for listening. If you tapping in,